Okay.
Thank you.
Right.
So I think Elliot explains the way we structured this, David, is he asks questions, I ask questions. We want to give you time at the end to ask questions. We've read your answers to the questionnaire. Thank you so much. And did you have anything you wanted to say at the outset to us? We'd be delighted to hear.
No, I was just mentioning to Elliot that the one thing that prompted me is to even apply to be on board is that I am retired and I want something to do. That's it.
I appreciate that. The reason we record is, forgive me if I'm repeating myself, is last year we found these conversations to be so rich, so informative and so thoughtful that for the election, we wanted the entire board to have access to these conversations.
Cool.
So that's the point. Elliot, you want to lead off?
Yeah, I actually will deal with the same question that you referenced, David. And can you be more specific on why you
Wait a
want to be on the board?
minute. Let's hang on a minute. All right. I'm sorry, that was my honey calling me. Would you ask the question again?
Sure. Can you talk more specifics about why you want to be on the board?
Well, there were a couple of things that I had in mind. One of them is that I have some time. I like to keep busy, and I'm looking for something to do, in some ways to serve. The other is that I have spent a lot of time on connection calls, talking to a lot of elders in our community, and one of the kind of recurring themes that I hear is that the elders need to have more of a voice in the business of the Mankind Project, and I thought I'd offer my elder energy to the board. It's it's sort of a wild hair. It's a way for me to serve. It's something that I can do and offer elder energy, and which may or may not be wanted. That's another matter. But that's kind of where I'm coming from. This is what I'm bringing to the table. Is this interest in the community and interest in the Mankind Project from the perspective of an elder.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm smiling because you sound like somebody I know. That would be me. And I appreciate the fact that you're hosting and serving the connection calls. I helped start those when I was elder chair, just as some background.
Cool.
And thanks for your comments about elder energy and elder involvement in the board. Appreciate that. Yep.
And I'm glad to hear that you're an elder. You're on the board.
Thanks.
David, I was impressed with your career history with the DoD.
Mhm.
Also impressed with your, what I think is your volunteer work with the Breakthrough Foundation, both as presenter and fundraiser. I was very impressed with that. But I was, I'll come back to that, but I was very interested in the current challenges and opportunities, and you listed 3 items, one of which was MKP relationships with Indigenous people. Could you expand on what you think the board should be doing in that regard?
The board should be doing everything it can to establish relationships and ally themselves with the Indigenous peoples. I saw in the strategic plan, no, not in a strategic plan, elsewhere, there was a request for contributions to support Indigenous peoples and the Mankind Project trainings. That's not what I have in mind. As a matter of fact, one of the things that troubles me is that we start finding segments of, gay people and Indigenous people and Black men and trying to do separate training for all of them. And no, I'm sorry, I just don't buy it. We're all men. Except you did. We're all men. I don't care what color we are. we don't have all kind of the same experience, but that we do have something in common in terms of having grown up without being properly introduced to manhood. So it's okay to have those things. It's not my favorite thing. And I understand that the board is going in that direction. But what's missing for me in this whole business is that how do we contribute to indigenous peoples without it being a self-serving thing, like giving them opportunities for our training? It comes back to us. It comes back to NWTA. We bring men in and pay for their training. Yeah, that's nice. But what are we doing in terms of serving indigenous peoples? What are we doing in terms of serving this country, the world, the divisiveness in this country? There are a lot of problems that are out there that I think that the Mankind Project could be addressing, and no question, they're huge. They may be beyond our capabilities, but I think we're not even trying.
So what would it look like just on the indigenous people's piece? What would happen and you would say, yeah, that's a good successful start?
With respect to the indigenous people's piece, we would have done a better job with the what's that word I'm looking for? A use of their culture, misappropriation of their culture. Yeah, I got it. We had somebody complain about that, an organization come after us. But I don't think that we responded appropriately. I don't think we responded the best way we could. I think probably maybe responded the only way we could at the time, but it was just, it didn't go in the direction that I would like it to go, that where we actually become allies of the indigenous peoples with the following kind of vision. And this is far out, hold on to your seat. As far out, my vision is that we keep the sweat lodge, very important part of my weekend, where I got in touch with my connection to the planet, where I started caring things about I never cared about before. And that's something that needs to happen all the way around the world, especially in this time of climate crisis. We have an opportunity to take some of the culture, some of the beliefs, some of the technology, shall I say, of the indigenous peoples in terms of their caring for the planet, and spread it around. We have connections all over the world. We have trainings all over the world. We can do lodges all over the world. And maybe bring along some people and let them have the same experience that I did. A love for the planet and a real appreciation. I've turned out to be a tree hugger. I talk to them. I listen to them. And it's a little weird and it's really far out there, but I saw us as allying with the indigenous peoples using their culture of the sweat lodge and spreading it all over the world because we have those connections. That's it.
Thank you. Elliot?
Thanks. David, in the same regard, in the same question, number 3, becoming a force of resolution of the divisiveness in our society.
I have no idea how we can possibly do that, but the divisiveness in our society is just top level in my mind. And we don't ever talk about it. Let me give you a little bit of background there. In most I groups, and in my I group in particular, we do not talk about politics for fear of offending each other or one another or something like that, or somebody getting really offended and stomping out and leaving the group or something like that. This culture cannot talk about this culture, the American culture, cannot talk about politics. I can't talk to my own son-in-law about politics. He's on the inside. I can't. Now, we have an organization with a mission, with an ability to reach men. And if we can't find some way of being able to, and I know we have the conflict resolution program, course, whatever it is, we have that. If we can't find some way of offering our support, our expertise in terms of coming together in resolution of our national divisiveness by being able to start with talking to each other. We can't even do that inside our own organization right now. But maybe we could. I think the braver angels have got have got something going, and I don't like what they're doing. And I have recently discovered what is called the braver space. You know what we talk about safe space in I groups? How about braver space, where people are okay being vulnerable and being honest and open about really tough conversations. I see that as a possibility. We have a start with it. We have men's circles. We have techniques, methodologies that could go in that direction. I see that as a really strong possibility, and we have to begin with ourselves. We have to begin with being able to talk politics in our own I groups. I have to get off my soapbox right now.
No, we invited you to be on your soapbox. Thank you. This is your opportunity. Appreciate it. And
Well, you're asking the right questions. What can I tell you?
we're doing our best.
David, from your work with the DoD, as you well know, we have this beautiful organization with this beautiful mission doing life-affirming and life-changing work for men. And we got a little organization that has to actually deliver it. It's really a business organization that has to deliver this wonderful project. Anything from your work there that you would say, here's the questions that I need to ask about the business organization, or here's what I recommend to improve it?
Ooh, God, I haven't thought about that. That's a good question. I do have an organization development background. I have been involved in strategic planning. I gave your strategic plan, the one that I read, a C-. And maybe that would be a place to start. In the sense that I found a strategic plan, I'm thinking about it strategically, is entirely about the health and welfare and growth of the organization. Good, but not good enough. What is the organization about really in terms of its mission in the world? I used to like it back when we were talking about saving the world one man at a time. That was a bit flowery, but it sort of hit the spot for me. We need a better relationship to our world in terms of our mission. And that's where the strategic plan comes in. So as I remember, some of the objectives of the strategic plan, we want to grow membership. Okay, great. Want to have more trainings. Okay, great. But nothing about the external world. Nothing. We have to consider, why the hell are we here as an organization if we're not contributing to the society? And what we have so far is a flowery set of phrases in the mission statement that sound good, but I don't see anything behind it in terms of action. At the same time, one of the things that happens in a new warrior training is coming out of the training with an individual mission. My mission has changed over time. Today, I co-create a whole harmonious and radiant world for those who are to come. You might notice in there's a missing piece called the to-do part. And in discussions with my mentor, he says, maybe your mission is to be, in the sense of the Gandhi proposition of being the change you want to see in the world. Focus on individual missions is good. There needs to be something else in the organizational mission. It's missing something. I don't know what the answer is. And I'm not going to be the one who comes up with it. This is something that we have to all do together.
Elliot.
David, I want to talk about financial condition, and we both read through your answer. You have a very strong and impressive business background and understanding. I'm certain. How do we improve the financial condition of MKP? What are the various ways that we can be stronger financially? As you, and I know you're not on the inside now, and it's, but I'm asking the question deliberately to get your creative thinking.
Okay. One of the things that I think I may have said in the questionnaire was that our membership, and I think one of your strategic plan objectives is increasing the membership. Increasing the membership, not just increasing the membership in terms of number, but their contribution to the society. You can become a member of this, the organization for $200-300 a year. I'm in it for $1,000 a year, and they made me a lifetime member. We can do a hell of a lot better job of enrolling the men who have already done the training to support the organization financially. That's number one. To the extent that they can find their way to make a substantial, meaningful contribution financially to the organization, I think that would give us the impetus to improve our financial position. That would be one way of doing it. Another way of doing it is what I refer to as my experience in terms of fundraising, and that's a tricky business. But I would start with the enrollment of men who have already done the training to make a contribution probably larger than ever made before to any organization, and make a really big request, knowing that they might say no. Thank you, but no, thank you. They might.
I want to follow up on that, Deb, if I can. We attract people from all sorts of backgrounds, all sorts of economic environments. I'm gonna make a gross assumption that might be invalid, that a large number of them can't afford to do what you're suggesting. And the balance falls on a small number of men. Now, I might be off. We also have an organization that has never charged a membership fee. And introducing that, I think would bring lots of reactions, maybe more positive than not, we don't know. How
Okay,
else can we?
first of all, I'm not talking about charging a membership fee. I'm talking about asking for contributions.
No, I understand.
Okay. Second of all, yes, you're absolutely right. People are in very many different places. That's why I have 3 rules about fundraising. The first one is to ask for the money. Ask only those people who can afford make a contribution, a significant contribution. And significant doesn't mean more than they have, but something that is meaningful for them. And the third rule is ask everybody. I'm not asking people who have less money than I have. For them, a $5 contribution may be it. It may be significant to them. As $1,000 contribution is significant to me on a retired person's fixed income. So that's where I'm at on it.
Thank you, David. Ed?
I want to thank you, and I bless you for your contribution, your financial contribution, and your other contributions to the project. Thank you. I have 2 elders in the room. I'm in that demographic myself. How do you define elder energy for you? What is it what specifically does it mean that I will bring elder energy?
Good question. I have a way of being in a room full of people, men. And I've noticed it in my family too. That allows people to be themselves and be who they are without making any demand upon them at all. Just allowing them to be themselves. An open heart to who they are and what they have to offer. Listening, a deep listening, and listening to understand, not to respond. And every once in a while, I offer some, I'm going to call it sage advice. And I can't tell you where the hell it comes from. I can tell you that it comes from right in here. It is heartfelt and almost always a surprise to me. And it's usually a contribution, either to the space or to the individual, that allows for, I think there's a lot of allowing and creating space for an elder energy. Space for people to be who they are or who they want to be. That's a good question. I could probably spend all day talking about that and not get any more specific than I am right now. It's just something that I bring to the table that is heartfelt, honest, no agenda. And usually open something up. wish I could give you a better answer.
I appreciate your answer.
It's a feeling that I get.
I understand. Thank you. Elliot, I'm complete, but want to leave room for David to have questions of us.
So
Do you-
I have,
you.
you've heard this question before, Deb. David, why should I support you? for the
Why should
board?
you support me? Because of what I just said about Elder Energy. I don't know how many members of the board are elders. I only talk about ritual elders.
Oh, understood.
I imagine I didn't know you were on the board. You're clearly an elder. I just think that something like that, the energy is needed. It's all I got. I have some ideas about fundraising. I mean, I spent many years doing it. I told you my 3 principles of fundraising.
Hmm.
It would take real major effort to pull all that together, but that's not the basic reason. I'll feed my heart. That's why.
Thank you. I'm complete, Deb.
I wanted to answer your question about how many elders on the board. I don't know if they're in the Elder Society, but I would say for voting members, Elliot, just about all of them.
Yeah, there may be 1 or 2 who aren't.
So out of 11 voting members, maybe 1 or 2 who are not elders as we define them by age,
Okay, then maybe I'm
which
not.
I understand is different from Elder Energy.
Oh,
Okay.
yes.
Oh yeah, that's definitely
Very
the case.
nice.
And it may be the case if that's the case, the board may be replete with elder energy, but what I've said about the strategic plan, our relationship with indigenous peoples, tell me something's missing.
Let me clarify. Deb's comment was elders on the board, not elder energy on the board. Those are
Okay.
very different factors.
Okay.
I am so
I
damn
understood that.
prejudiced. I mean,
I did understand that. And I've been with a lot of elders. And the elder energy usually show up in the host. But that's what we bring to the table, you know, that's where we are though. Anyway,
thank you.
whatever.
Deb, do you have any more questions, or would
Huh?
David a chance to ask us questions?
No, we could talk longer, but I want to be respectful of everyone's time.
Yeah.
Yeah, David, questions or points of view that you want us to hear?
Yeah, I didn't have any questions prepared, that's for sure. Except in my curiosity about the number of elders on the board. Let's see, I think you gave me some time frame when the board selections would be made. Would you repeat that, please?
Yes, I will. Hold on. I am-
23rd?
I believe Saturday, November 23rd.
Yep.
Yes, thank you. I'm terrible on dates. I have to double check.
I have my calendar.
November 23rd.
Yeah, it's usually in the afternoon Eastern time, but we'll get you information
Okay.
and repeat it because of calendars. But thank you for asking.
Okay. Let's see, I had another question.
Sure.
Travel. Am I going to be expected to travel? And as a member of the board?
Rarely.
I am partially disabled, so I need a wheelchair when I get on an airplane. So that's the level of my disability. I need a wheelchair.
Understood. Thank you.
All right, and then I made a wild guess about how much time was necessary for me to serve on the board. And my guess was like, well, my answer to your question was whatever it takes, but my guess was 10 to 15 hours a week. Is that reasonable? Am I off the mark or?
Let me try to give you some data to help answer that question because it's in flux, and we'll give you some information on that. We
Okay.
have 2 regularly scheduled board meetings, the first and third Thursday of the month. It's starting at 6 p.m. Eastern time. They run 1 hour, maybe 2, probably 1 to 2 hours. Sometimes it can run longer.
Mhm.
We occasionally have working group meetings on Saturdays, which gives us a deeper dive into being able to discuss issues as a board, because the board is, resolutions, Robert's Rules of Order. It's a business meeting,
Right.
that highly structured business meeting. And sometimes we need to have a chance to just really talk things out or hear from people. We may occasionally have a special board meeting during the week. If there's something going on that needs our attention, we can have more. This year, I would say we met on average once a month with maybe, Elliot, correct me if I'm wrong, 4 or 5 other meetings. It was a low meeting year. Last year, we met probably once a week. It depends. It depends on the chair, and it depends on what's going on. That's one answer. So that's not a heavy lift. We're looking at, can we be a board where we have board working committees and other projects? As you said, I'd like to be involved to utilize the expertise of board members more fully, and we're developing that. So for example, we had a board effectiveness group that Elliot ran that met once a week. We had, we're developing a recruiting committee. We have this vetting committee, which is a bylaw thing that involves the election. So there's more opportunities to get involved. So for example, if we created a fundraising committee, we'd say, wouldn't it be great to have David on that? So the
Probably.
answer, yes. So we're trying to create more board committees that make sense at the board level, and enlist people with interest in and skill sets towards that. So the answer to your question is it can be a light lift or a heavier lift, depending on really how much your interest is.
That was my second question about committee assignments. I mean, is it typical that each board member has a committee assignment?
Not currently. We would love that to be the case.
Yeah.
I think the reality is we won't get all the way there, but I think we're building towards that.
Okay. Well, the holacracy model should work maybe a little bit in that direction, but I'm not sure.
We are actually, the board is actually not under holacracy. It is the one that's exempt.
No.
Oh, is it?
Yes.
Well, I didn't know that.
Yeah, if you go back to Robinson and the creation of it, the board doesn't fit. I mean, the board does particular, that's really for operations rather than board level activity.
Oh. Thank you for clarifying that. It's interesting. Yeah, I serve in the committee here on the board of directors for my co-op. Well, it was okay. I did my shtick, and but I never served on the board itself. I wasn't ready to do that yet. What else? Questions about that? No, I don't have any other questions, and I appreciate the opportunity. As I said, it was just a spur of the moment thing, a flash in the brain going across, and hey, why don't we do this? See what happens. And I may be accepted as a member of the board, and I may not. And either way is fine. I'm okay with it.
Thank you for that. I really appreciate that. And we really appreciate your putting your name in.
Yes.
It's hard because, you know, when you run for an election, it's emotional, you know. For me, I get into it and then it's like, oh my God, I might lose. So we appreciate and respect that. I will be sending more information. Where we are now is we haven't quite closed. We're almost closing the nomination period. Doing interviews as people return their questionnaires. And then we will kind of give you a lot more detailed information about here's the election, here's the process, so forth, and give you a chance to ask questions. Oh, wait, tell me exactly what does that mean? But that will come up next. There's multiple elections, which sounds crazy. We do the secretary election first and elect the secretary. We do a treasurer election, elect the treasurer, and then we elect the at-large members. We have a bigger pool for the at-large slots in general, and a lot of qualified people in that pool. And we do that by rank voting. So let's say you have, I'm just making these numbers up. You have 10 candidates and 5 positions, as you know, rank voting, you go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Yeah.
Person with the lowest. We experimented with that with last year and it worked quite well.
Oh, good. Good.
That's
I'm
how
glad to
we-
hear that.
Yeah, I am too, actually. I think it's the right approach.
Me too.
Elliot, any additional information we should provide David right now?
Oh, one more thought. One more thought.
Go ahead.
I've decided that I'm running for the board, but I think campaigning is probably not something I'm going to do. Putting my name out there in the community. I might have admitted to my I group, but that's about as far as it's going to go. I wasn't thinking about doing anything like running a campaign.
That's okay.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you, David. Appreciate your time and your efforts and your willingness to consider being on the board.
Thank you, Elliot. Thank you, Deb.
Yeah, we
welcome.
won't have forgotten about you, but you won't hear us from us for a little while. But
Okay.
do feel free to contact me or Elliot if something comes up.
Thank you, I will.
All
May you
right.
be safe and well. May you be at peace. May you live with ease and kindness.
Thank you, and to you too. Have a great day.
Bye-bye.